Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. The topic of this 10-minute moan isn't really a moan. I'm actually delighted for a change because a recent poll predicts right now 20% of Scots are going to tactically vote, and that could make massive differences to the outcome of the general election. Now, the Express, David Walker, he's written today, John Swinney and the SNP to suffer tactical voting nightmare at the general election, as 1 in 5 Scots will vote to get rid of a party. The First Minister and his party could be set for a nightmare night on July 4 if pro-union voters decide to back the best party to defeat independents supporting candidates. Cracking. Right, so the story goes, John Swinney and the SNP are facing down a general election nightmare after new polling revealed that 1 in 5 Scots are planning to vote tactically on July 4th. This could turn a bad night for the Nats into a catastrophic one, as disgruntled voters turn against the SNP. Scottish Labour is set to be the biggest beneficiaries of tactical voting in Scotland as Scots decide to get either the Nats out or the Tories out. But there's a glimmer of hope for Douglas Ross and his pro-union voters are willing to back him instead of independents supporting parties. We previously published our own tactical voting guide, which could rid the country completely of SNP MPs, but they are likely to cling on to its strongholds such as Dundee and Aberdeen, where the unionist vote is split between various parties, but a resounding defeat will damage morale within the nationalist movement. The Times reports that 1 in 5 voters intend to vote for a candidate either to thwart a rival party or because they believe their preferred option has no chance of winning in their constituency. Unionists are far more likely to vote for a certain party because it is the one most likely to defeat the Nats. If that's true, I will be delighted, because I've been asking folk to consider tactically voting since before the election was called. And if we get 20% of people tactically voting, be a nightmare for the SNP. Analysis by Norstat suggests that almost half of those who plan to vote tactically are doing so to defeat the SNP. Meanwhile, 39% are doing in an attempt to unset the Tories. Now, isn't this interesting? Because what will happen is the ones that are trying to defeat the Tories, as long as that's like central belt and stuff, it'll no matter, because they'll be going to vote Labour, right? The only place that could be a wee bit of a problem is the sort of half a dozen seats for the SNP's best challenge is going to come from from Tory. But I would take them away putting all the ones at Labour or other competition. That would be absolutely fantastic. I would still like to see a lot of people in the ones where Tories could compete going and tactically voting. And that, unfortunately, would mean turning their back on reform as well, because the reform could split the Tory vote in the 4 or 5 areas where the Tories are on a knife edge, and that could be enough to give the SNP some votes. So everybody has to look at their own constituency first. It's not a one-size-fits-all answer to where you should tactically vote across Scotland, because there's so many knife-edge seats, which some of them could be even Lib Dem. So, Anna Sarwar is set to reap the reward north of the border as Labour has a 4-point lead over the Nats and in line to pick up swathes of seats in central and western Scotland. However, the Scottish Tories could also hold on to its 6 seats it won in 2019 thanks to tactically voting. According to pollster Sir John Curtis, this could result in Labour returning 28 MPs, the SNP plunging to 18 from their 49, the Tories on 6 and Lib Dems on 5. But he warned that any more anti-Tory voting could prove fatal to the party's hopes of maintaining its Scottish representation. That's their 6 seats. So that's the areas we need to concentrate on. Elsewhere, the party is at risk of losing support because of the eagerness of some of its potential supporters to defeat the SNP. Among those who are voting tactically, as many as 17% say they prefer the Conservatives, the biggest loss of any party. Most of them are switching to Labour. Tactical voting could be key for returning Mr Ross to Westminster as the Aberdeenshire North and Moray East is set to go down to the wire after the scandal surrounding David Dougod being replaced due to ill health. This sparked fury within the Tories and ended with the leader announcing he was standing down following July 4. Other close-run seats include, listen very carefully please if you live in any of these, West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine, Dumfriesshire and the other Moray seat, where there are Tory incumbents. Despite the SNP's struggle in polls, support for independence is balanced at 50-50 when undecided voters are excluded. Right. Well, what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that there's plenty of people on this let's no vote for the SNP bandwagon. Let's get them out. Let's bankrupt them. Let's give them as little power as possible, as little short money as possible, and as little chance of staying afloat as possible. This is fantastic. But we can't rest on our laurels. If you've decided that tactical voting is for you, then just look carefully up until the day before the election as polls could change. And I'll be doing a video the day before the election. Just sat down with some people that know better than me, reading polls, and there's no point in telling everybody every seat out of the 57, right? But see the ones that Tory and Lib Dem can win. I'll be highlighting them. And then it's dead simple. If you're not on that list, then you vote Labour, because the vast majority of the seats, that's the best chance we've got of ousting the SNP. So, it's all good news. And I do think we're going to definitely get where I was predicting months ago, or not predicting, that's the wrong word to say, what I was hoping for months ago, which was that the SNP would get between 20 and 25 seats. Now, I'll still stand by that. If they get 20 to 25, I'll still see that as a great victory. But the way the polls are going now, it could be devastatingly much less than that for them, which would be fantastic. I think they're definitely going to have less than half the seats they had before Westminster broke up, right, for the election. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the early results come in, and hopefully there's a couple of the sort of knife edge seats come in first so that we can get an idea of how the rest of the night's going to pan out. Because if the early knife edge seats start going the way I would like them to go, that'll give us a good indicator on how the night's going to go. And I might even tune into ITV just to see Nicola Sturgeon's cooking as the heavy defeats go, because that'll give me great pleasure. I remember her being very, very happy when one of her counterparts lost her seat at an election recently, celebrating like an absolute lunatic. Well, there'll be plenty of people celebrating like absolute lunatics when your seats start falling. Because that night I thought, you're not a politician, you're a crank. So, looking forward to it. Very confident about Thursday, but can't stop resting our laurels. You need to keep talking to people, talking to your friends, relatives, work colleagues, and anybody that's sort of wavering. Just assure them. How bad would you feel if you cannot stomach voting for the person that you would need to vote for to tactically vote, regardless of the party, right? Ask yourself this one question. If you don't do it, and you wake up in the morning to an SNP MP representing you, will you regret not doing it? And if the answer to that is yes, I would regret it, don't do it. Just hold your nose and go and make the vote that you need to tactically vote. And don't have any conscience on you the next day if you end up an SNP MP. There's no guarantees, but I tell you what, I'd rather vote for the people that come second to an SNP MP than vote for the one that comes third or fourth and think, what if some Morias had just tactically voted and got the party that I maybe don't like to beat the SNP rather than come second. That's a nightmare scenario, and I ain't prepared to try and live with myself if that happened. I couldn't. I'd be gutted. So I'll be doing it. I'll be holding my nose, putting an X on a piece of paper, voting for somebody that I normally wouldn't vote for. I'll certainly know this election anyway, that's for sure. I've voted for Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems and independent people before. So I'm a voting voter, but I certainly wouldn't be voting for the people that I'm going to vote for this election if I had the choice. But defeating the SNP and helping bankrupt them is far more important to me than anything else in the political scenario right now. So if you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please give me a subscription and follow. It's free. But most importantly of all, as long as you're no John Swinney, SNP, or any of the cranks that still support them blindly, everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.